Imam Jihad, since you come late, 20 minutes, the penalty is, you mentioned the Trump. Anybody know who's Trump? Okay. Now, what does a Trump presidency means for Muslim in America? And there is another question for Brother Shakil, right away after you answer. You say something about Trumpism. Maybe he will go after 4 years or 8 years, and I heard Brother Shakil one presentation, he said, but there is a movement, probably will continue after Trump. So what does that mean for the Muslims, for both of you?
So my perspective may be a little different, because I'm from a community that has shown resilience from slavery, Jim Crow, even more recently, mass incarceration. So Trump is another day, okay, for many of us. But there's a portion of that, where people became worried, of course. And what worries me, even with myself, if it took Trump to really wake us up about the reality that we are living in, then something is perhaps wrong in the first place. I think we need to be in touch with our reality, first of all, living in America. What is the idea of this American dream? And this is why, I'm always emphasizing, go to the people who are struggling in America, who, when you have a Donald Trump, as a Muslim community, this may last, hopefully, he gets out of there in the first term. But we have to, as a Muslim community, see what are the blessings that come with Trump. Because fortunately, alhamdulillah, we should be able to see the blessings out of anything that comes our way. I think the blessing is, first of all, is that if you're not woke, if you weren't woke back then, you are fully awake right now. And you know exactly where you are at. If you didn't know about America, then now you need to know about them now. When we have people, the native people, which many of us, and I know culturally, it's a big time, Thanksgiving, enjoying some of the best cooking this time of year. However, at this time you have native people who have been victims of genocide, but they continue to suffer in this day and time where they're dealing with the pipeline, this Dakota pipeline that threatens their water. And these are the things that we should look at. This is the reality, I think, that Trump did. That the good that comes out of it is that now we get to wake up and see what's really going on. The other part about it is that we need to begin to organize. We need to organize ourselves as a Muslim community, and that's a huge conversation that should happen, and we don't have time for that. As Muslim youth coming up, our Muslim youth need to see strength during this time from our leaders. For example, I just talked about smiling. Yes, it's good to smile. But also, we need leadership who's going to stand up and say it's not okay to pull the scars off of our sisters. And if that continues, we're going to mobilize enough men. And some of us get afraid of that talk. That's the community I'm from. Is that when it's time, no one is going to sit up here and try to harm people from our community, and then we just be dismissive about it. No, we need to organize. We need to take these threats more seriously. We need to look at our security as a Muslim community and not saying go out and get violent, but this is what the youth want to hear. They don't want to hear weakness from the leadership. They want to hear that we have people who are willing to stand up and fight if we have to. And fighting doesn't always mean a physical fight, but doing what we have to do to make sure that we have our place here, right here in America.
Awesome.
Brother Shakil, before you answer, Brother Shakil, during the election, he went from door to door in Anaheim, asking people, Muslims, and just to participate in the election, to have your voice heard. And when you talked about the future of Islam and Muslims in America, basically indirectly, you talked about the Trumpism. Maybe probably want to highlight what you're going to get there.
So, as Brother Jihad said, that Trump may live only 4 years, and
and go back to wherever he came from and do things that he wants to do and so on. I wrote an op-ed by the title Trump, a Moment or a Movement. And in this op-ed I essentially argued that Trump is not a moment but a movement. And the parallels I drew in my argument is in 1950s and 60s, there was a US senator for less than 10 years or approximately 10 years by the name Joseph McCarthy. Joseph McCarthy within 10 years gave birth to what we now know as McCarthyism, of which Muslims have been abundantly subjected to, along with other minority communities. I also argued that there are other good movements. Rosa Parks stood up in the bus. That wasn't a moment, but it lasted. It created a movement that gave birth to civil rights movement. I gave an example of Cesar Chavez when he refused to see farm workers being exploited by the great farm owners in the city of Delano in the state of California. That gave birth to United Farm Workers movement that continues to live today. So using these parallels, my argument essentially is that Trump may go away, but Trumpism may not go away for a long period of time. And if that is true, then we as citizens of this great nation have an immense responsibility to not give life to Trumpism, but instead cut that life short as quickly and as fastly as possible. Thank you.
As challenges, there's a lot of opportunities, and some of us will think about challenges, and others maybe think there is maybe great opportunity for Muslims in America. However, let's go back to the home run, to the masajids. We have, mashallah, over 100 masjids. You go to some of them, you see no youth, or no place for women. Khatib last Friday or the Friday before, he talked about the wudu. I mean, wudu means like, the cleanliness. Like Muslims, they didn't know how to clean the bathrooms. So we have some challenges internally, and also we have to look externally. My question, Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui, how do you think Muslims' relationship with the masjid or masajid in general, or Islamic centers or schools or community centers have changed over the years? And especially about the men and the women, and what the shura can do, hoping inshallah to have a better model for the masjid in America.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am the oldest person in this panel. So I have seen for the last 50 years, 60 years, the state of Muslims and the state of the Ummah. I'm very hopeful. And I think the community, Muslim Ummah is awakening. It is a state of awakening. I hope inshallah this will become more wakeful and more active. Alhamdulillah, more Muslims are coming to their masajid. More masajid are being built. And more people are contributing to the masajid. I hope this will continue that. And masajid are becoming more active in their work. There is participation of women also. And more people are being open on that, to that. So we have, Alhamdulillah, the ISNA has established a masjid forum where they emphasize very much. And we at the Fiqh Council of North America, we took that point that women should participate in the masajid, and masajid should be open for that. Not only they go and pray there, but they should be also in the shura of the masajid. They should participate in that. And in some masajid it is happening that. So this is a great thing, alhamdulillah. The youth are involved, a very large number of youth are coming to the masajid, a large number of sisters are coming, women are coming to the masajid. And then also our masajid should work together. So there is a trend now to have the shura councils, as we have it here in Southern California. There are other states, other counties that also establishing shura councils, coordination and cooperation. And this is very important. If we want to really work together and we want to really change the situation, we have to be together. We have to coordinate our efforts and work together. The other thing that I see, alhamdulillah, a trend which is very welcome, which is very good, to have interfaith relations. Before 9/11, many of our Islamic centers, masajid, they would not even talk about that. But now we see that active involvement with people of other faith, inviting them to the masajid and going there and jointly having some social program, charitable programs that are doing that. This is a great trend. And this is very important, that you have your neighbors, cooperate with them. Because Islamic principle is ta'awanu ala al-birri wa taqwa wa la ta'awanu ala al-ismi wal udwan. Cooperate with each other in the matters of righteousness, in the matters of piety. So you can cooperate with anybody as long as the aim and the objective is right piety and righteousness. So we have to promote that. And there are many people who have concepts of virtue and kindness and goodness. It is not just a monopoly of Muslims. Many other people have that. So we have to work with them. We have to cooperate with them. And this is necessary. This is very much this alliances, building relations with the people. People of faith as well as other people as well. Other human beings who are open to other people, who are willing to work, minorities, other people. So the people are coming to the masajid and we have to be open. This open mosque day is for that purpose. So alhamdulillah, masajid are working on that. And I would like to see more efforts in this direction. So Muslims, our identity, of course, we have to be strong in our identity, Islamic identity, but at the same time we are Americans. And we should not say that either Muslim or American. No, you can be very faithful Muslim and you could be very loyal American. Principle must be right. We have to promote justice, we have to promote peace, we have to promote harmony among the people. If we work in that way, inshallah, so that we give that kind of a direction. So our masajid can play a very important role, and alhamdulillah, many of them are doing that. Can play a very important role. Every Muslim must be attached to a masjid. Support the masjid. Make your masjid grow and become better, more organized. And masajid work together. And then these councils work together on the national level. If we have that kind of thing, alhamdulillah, it's going to help us. That the unity, inshallah, is going to bring barakah. Yadullahi ma'al jama'ah. The hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with the people when they are together. Man shadda shuzda fin nar. Those who separate, they go to hell. So it's very important people should come together and cooperate with each other. It is not necessary to agree with everyone. We have adabul ikhtilaf. If you have ikhtilaf, have some manners of ikhtilaf. Learn the principles of dialogue, talking to each other, understanding each other, listening and speaking, both. And this way we can work together. So, do not be pessimistic. Inshallah, la taqnatu min rahmatillah. Do not lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have trust in Allah, and inshallah things are going to change. But we have to change ourselves. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawm hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah will not change the condition of the people until they start changing themselves. So if we start changing, you can see the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to come.
Dr. Muzammil, he said he's the oldest. In fact, he is the most respected as well in our community. And the wisest. Jazakallah khair, barakallah. You know, yesterday, I think one of the sessions, they were talking about information and knowledge. Brother Hisham, Brother Shakir were in the part of the panelists. And this is a question for Dr. Hisham Abdullah. In fact, you know, one definition I want to offer today, based on what you said yesterday. In fact, knowledge is nothing but the process of information. It means when you process the information, you make sure it's accurate, and you make sure like there is reference, it becomes knowledge. And if you process the knowledge, you get the wisdom. So basically start with something making no sense like data, then you go to information, knowledge, and finally you end by wisdom, which is repeating the same process and making it more accurate. My question, Dr. Hisham, I think today we have a crisis of knowledge. And based on the ayah behind us, وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. In fact, I think, you know, we have a crisis of knowledge. People volunteer information over the social media, Facebook, hadith is not hadith, ayah is not ayah. My question is, what are your thoughts on what some scholars refer to as, you know, the crisis of knowledge in the Muslim Ummah today? why do you think this is so connected to the crisis of Ummah?
Can I try to address the youth issue before I...
No, you can't.
No? Stick with that? No, go ahead. You know, it's really ironic, because if you look around, youth are not involved in the masajid as we expect them to do. And the irony here is that when my generation, when we started these organizations, or many of us started these organizations, what were we? We were youth. Teens, 20s, maybe the oldest among us would be 30 years old. And then, when we are in our, golden age, if you will, and we look down at the youth and we say, we think they are incapable of running the masajid. But again, the youth also has a responsibility to try to influence the environment of the masajid. So, to me, if everyone has passion, and we claim that Islam is a complete way of life, therefore, if my passion is legitimate, it is automatically part of Islam. If my passion is sports or politics or social justice or relief or any kind of legitimate activity, it is part of Islam. And if we are Muslim organizations, then collectively we have to cover all that. And that if we don't solve this, this issue, this problem, I don't think the youth will come to the masjid and knocking on our door. We want to, because if my passion is not fulfilled at the masjid, well, I'm going to show up for Jum'ah. I'm just going to show up when there is a speaker that I would like to listen to, but that's it. And we don't grow this way. I'm very concerned about the future of the Islamic organization, the future of the Ummah, because of the lack of engagement of the youth. Now, I also had a comment about Trump, but maybe, sorry. I come to your question. To me, there seems to be two major crises in the Muslim Ummah in general. Knowledge and morality. And Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi wrote extensively about these two. And Sheikh Muhammad al-Ghazali, rahmatullah alayhi, and the greatest, most renowned scholars focused on these two. Al-ilm wal-akhlaq. The knowledge, we don't want everyone to become a scholar, but we have to go back to the attitude of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, when he explained the attitude of the Sahaba towards the Quran, was what? You recite 10 ayahs, you learn them, you memorize them, and then you apply them. You apply them. It has to be done under the guidance of shuyukh, of our scholars. Sheikh Muzammil and the notable, the renowned scholars and their students. But it has to be, we have to actually start by, we really have to learn. We have to know what this Islam is all about. Otherwise we're working without knowledge. When we, for example, say, go and support the oppressed, go join, the movements, Black Lives Matter, or go stand on Standing Rock, with the Native Americans. We don't say that because it's good publicity. We say that because this is who we are. If we understand the true message of our Islam, we'll know that it actually, without standing with the oppressed, we're not deserving of the rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not deserving of the help of Allah. And we have to go back to the roots in that sense. And it is a crisis, because even our activists, sometimes they're doing this thing, this work and thinking, oh, it's just good publicity, is good for the community. No, this is who we are. This is who we should be. And that's, I know I didn't answer your question, but
Wallah, jazakallah khair.
I wanted to say this.
Jazakallah khair. I think, one thing he mentioned about Black Lives Matter. And I want to ask Yasmin, as youth, number one, and number two, about, the Black Lives Matter, your activity in the university, and what the youth think of the crisis in general. All the crises we are going through today, what do you expect from Ammus and Khaltus?
Okay, so I think the first thing that I would say is just general awareness. I know that a lot of times what tends to happen in communities is we tend to be very reactive. When something happens, it's kind of, you see this, there's a social theory in international relations that we study that whenever there's power, there will be resistance to that power, and whenever there's an oppressor, there will be those that will resist that oppression. And I think that what is so, Allah alam, I mean, I don't think I'm the most qualified to be talking about this, but what's really interesting is that with the BLM movement, it has kind of become, it has spurred so much movement within college communities and high schools, and especially in the MSAs, at least on my campus, there's a very intrinsic relationship between the BSU, the Black Student Union, and the Muslim Student Union, or the Muslim Student Association, just because, like Ammu Hisham said, it's something that we have to do. And I think that especially right now, it's absolutely critical for young people, for all of us in general, to recognize where our human beings, our brothers and sisters, are hurting, especially in our communities, and find ways in which we can support and provide platforms in which they're able to express and kind of share the struggle with us, because there will always be parallels in liberation struggles in general. And I think that, I don't know if I'm answering the question, but I think ultimately, we just have to be aware of these, of what's going on, be more acute in terms of how we respond or how we support and how we show our allyship, because allyship is not like a superficial, like, let's change our profile pictures and let's, it's physically being present at the BLM chapter meetings. It's showing your support, outreach. All these things are ways in which we express allyship, and also recognizing that a majority of the Muslim community is comprised of our Black brothers and sisters. So recognizing that it's also a struggle that we need to be partaking in, and a struggle that we need to be supporting. Allah alam. Bottom line is we have to definitely take it more seriously, and we have to show more support and more seriousness in prioritizing supporting it.
Barakallah. Dr. Marian, we have really, all of us want to hear from you. What's your message for the Muslims in America in general, especially with the Muslim Latino? We are not much educated about, the Muslim Latino, and we are honored in mass, honestly, to have a track this year about the Muslim Latino, and we hope, inshallah, this year will become even more powerful. So what's your message for all of us, or for the Muslims, especially under this title, the Steps of the Muslim Ummah?
I think the most important message here is to stop the victimization game that we play. We are very powerful. We are spiritually, incredible. And I think we have to take ownership of that. No matter what happens outside, it really check inside. Where are you with God? Where's Allah in your heart? And if that is solid, it really doesn't matter who's leading, what, where, and when. It's the here and now. It's not, and the fear, and I think we're led by fear, all of us. Manipulation through fear ought to end. We don't care what happens outside. We have a goal, we have a mission, we have set rules. Young people, please turn off those TVs and all those pictures. Time to move, really roll up your sleeves and get some work done. There's so much to do, and very few people, we're always short of volunteers, short of work. So if you really feel sad, turn all your sadness into energy and momentum and positivism. Enough with it, let's quit that discourse, because it's not going to take us anywhere. pre-Trump, post-Trump, I really don't care. I think we have a vision and mission that's much bigger than that. As human beings, as Muslims, Allah put us here on this earth and says you have been in charge with responsibility towards humanity to make this place a better place. We definitely can do that. Focusing on all these distractions is nothing but really distractions from our personal goals. A, as a community. B, where do I stand as myself with Allah is number one. Number two, where do I stand with my community? What am I giving and who am I giving to? Where are the weak in our community? Who are we to speak for them? Back them up, be there for them. So if we fix all these things, then we don't really have time for all the big noise happening out there that just distracts us, takes us in a hole, sit there and woe ourselves for our condition. I think this time ended. Really, we need to, like, the wake-up call is, this time, there's no more. We are in the here and now, 2016. Why couldn't it be the best year for us? Why should it be the worst thing that happened to us? And my children, when they were scared, came up to me and I said, no, this does not affect us in any way, shape, or form. We have a vision, we have a mission, we're going somewhere. Whether he comes, he goes, they were so like, who's gonna win? No, it doesn't matter. Our vision and mission is still intact. Thank you.
Sister Jara, with full honesty, talking to brothers and sisters, you feel some of the brothers are worried, especially the youth, even the adults. And you see some of the sisters are worried about the future of Muslims in America. Probably the question I want to hear from you, since you've been like in the United Nations just and the ambassador, what you can tell us, what's the plan for Muslims, just want to pick your brain in this, to feel, we are secure in the future. Do you think, that you have something about for those who are worried about the future, what we can tell them?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Basically, like I mentioned earlier on, the global population is 7 billion, we're 1 billion, so there's strength in numbers. We do have a right number of Muslims to not be afraid. We're a minority, but we're not that minority. Every 1 in 15 people are Muslims in the global population. So that's something to keep in mind. Something else I wanted to mention is the politics of Washington does affect things in Lagos, Nigeria, in Dhaka, Bangladesh, even in Timbuktu, Mali. What I'm saying is that the realities of American Muslims, or the realities, the politics in America, I beg your pardon, does affect the politics all over the world. And the Muslims in America, the rest of the world, honestly, believe it or not, even after Trump, even whatever, they depend on us. The liberation, if I can use that word, of the entire Muslim Ummah lies heavily on the shoulders of American Muslims. I want you to think about that very, very well. We are the ones in the corridors of power. We are here in America, we are American Muslims, we can speak to our government, because our government is very heavily involved in the government, in the United Nations, and as an extension in the global politics. So I want us to just take our responsibilities a little bit more seriously. This is a beautiful opportunity, has been said. Let me echo the sentiments that as bad as it is for us, it's really good, subhanAllah. It's really, really good. American Muslims are very powerful. The rest of the Muslims all over the world depend on us. Syrian Muslims depend on us to push our governments to find a lasting solution to the Israeli-Palestinian crisis and all over the world. So I want us to take our responsibilities as Muslims very seriously. In closing, I know that we're out of time. I wanted to share something personal and a bit liberating for me in my life. I think one of the problems we have generally as Muslims is that we're a little bit strung up in the letter of our religion, and we've forgotten the spirit of Islam. Islam has a spirit, the maqasid, the Sharia. The Sharia has a maqasid, the objectives of this religion. Ibn Qayyim says something very beautiful. Islam, the Sharia, is all about justice and benefit and wisdom for everyone in this life and the afterlife. So any matter that abandons good for bad, wisdom for nonsense, justice for injustice, is not part of our religion, is not part of our Sharia. And the opposite is true. That anything that takes a matter from injustice to justice, from bad to good, from cruelty to kindness, wherever it is part of our Sharia. We must embrace it. So subhanAllah, as Muslims in America, we must embrace on the local level initiatives that are pushing for justice in the community here, embrace them, because it is part of what our Sharia is supposed to do. And secondly, on the international, we need to be very, very involved in civil society, if I'm allowed to use that word. Civil society, you need to be actively engaged in any manner, because really, 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 the global Muslims depend on us. And because we are Muslims, the entire world, honestly, deserves the beauty and the justice and the niceness and the kindness and the message of Islam. The world is in need of Islam. So please, guys, let's do something about this. Jazakumullah khair.
I know we ran out of time, and I know we have so many questions to ask, but there's one question I want to conclude with, which is really important, and there is another thing about Dr. Jamal Badawi. I want to mention it after this question. You know, CARE, to be specific, doing a great job helping the Muslims community, and we've seen that in all of our masajids. And definitely with the ACLU as well. Many of us, when you have any problem, go to ACLU. Now with the increase of we are facing, when you go to the airport, for example, kind of discrimination. Many Muslims being isolated in the side and asking them questions and go through hard time in the airport. In the schools, our kids facing discrimination clearly. What can we do as organizations and Muslim organization, at least to make our youth or our Muslims more empowered and feel they have the right? And there is a law in America, they call it the freedom for all and the freedom of speech. So what we can do, what's advice, in very short, inshallah, a few minutes. Anyone, Brother Hisab, you want to start?
I think the main thing is to realize that where we live today in California, it's probably one of the safest places for people to be practicing their faith, whether it's Muslim or any other group. This is a very diverse state, very supportive. Yeah, we do hear cases. There are, of course, increasingly, we're hearing more and more of these hate incidents happening in our state, but nothing compares to what happens in other parts of the country, and certainly nothing to compare to what is happening in other parts of the world. So, first of all, just keep things in perspective. That is important, because otherwise it's easy to lose perspective and feel live in panic. Number two is, we're not alone. Yeah, we might be 1 million in California, 6 million in the country, but there are a lot of people in America who are on our side. Many people who are as worried as we are about what is happening in the country. So this is the time to build alliances at every level. The Masajid, Islamic Center of Long Beach, Hawthorne, Irvine, Mission View, mashallah, they have been doing, Garden Grove, been doing a great job, Corona, in building alliances with politicians, with elected officials, with interfaith groups, civil rights groups, human rights groups. When we build those alliances, they become our first line of defense as we become their first line of defense, because an attack on one is an attack on all of us. Many people share that. We're not alone. We're not the only ones who care about harmony, about justice, about human rights. So as we build those alliances, I think it becomes easier for us to defend, obviously including reaching out to our local law enforcement agencies to let them know about the challenges we face so they can come and address them when they happen. The main thing is, it is important to remind everyone, no case is too unimportant to be reported. Whenever you face even a comment made at you, at the mall, at a supermarket, at school, teach our youth to report any incidents of bullying. Empower them not to be victims. Remind them that there are bad people. There has always been bad people. Most people are good, but bad will prevail when the good people remain silent or don't take action. Remind them that you have to defend yourself, not for yourself alone, but for your family, your community, and for other vulnerable people in the larger community. So when we empower them that you are part of the solution, remind people, and this is something not just for the youth, for all of us as a community. We have to remember, my dear brothers and sisters, there are three types of people. There are the people who make the difference, the leaders. There are those who follow, and there are those who are spectators. They say there are people who make things happen, there are people who watch things happen, and there are those who say what just happened, right? We want to be the people who are making things happen. We cannot afford anymore to be spectators as a community. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone, without exception, has a role to play, and sometimes many roles to play. So I hope we find ways, find our role through these existing organizations to be part of that positive change, inshallah.
I'd like to add a fourth kind of people, and those are the people who prevent things from happening. And they usually, because of distorted understanding of our deen, because they would tell you why it is haram to make a strategic alliance with the other community, even though this is a golden opportunity for us to make strategic alliances. You will find people in our communities of this fourth type that is going to say, no, but you can't do that because it's haram. How are you going to be working with these people? So that's, that we have to really, I have, khalas, after all these years, I don't even lend an ear to listen to these things. Khalas, I don't waste my time arguing. If they come around, inshallah, make dua for them that they will come around. Don't waste your time with those who are going to, al-muthabbitin, if you will, the ones who try to always prevent things from happening. And now, we love our liberal bubbles, that we live in California, in New York, in New Jersey, in Oregon, in Washington State, and wherever. We love our liberal bubbles, and we enjoy it. However, I think we have to, there has to be some pioneers, whether from amongst us in these communities or from other parts of the country, to go and, I hate to use this term, but to go and try to conquer Trump land. Go to the people who really have never seen a Muslim in their life, and go and become a teacher, become a doctor, become a nurse, and go and serve the community. There's one young man who went from our community, is going to somewhere in the heartland, and he's serving as a doctor here, and he is probably the only Muslim that a lot of his patients have ever seen. And can you imagine what kind of impact we will have when we put this as a strategic, as one of our strategies is to spread, get out of our liberal bubbles, go and live with our fellow Americans wherever they are, and provide a positive impression on Muslims. Allah.
I think since we missed Dr. Jamal Badawi earlier, he wasn't here in the beginning of the program, and what an honor for all of us here in the podium to honor Dr. Jamal Badawi and to present to him, inshallah. Dr. Jamal, if you don't mind, inshallah, we called you earlier. Please, if you come to the stage for a minute. Jazakallah khairan. And inshallah, all of you will honor Dr. Jamal Badawi on behalf of the Muslim community, inshallah. Dr. Jamal Badawi. Wallah, I want you all to stand up for a minute, inshallah. Inshallah, this is the Lifetime Award Achievement for Dr. Jamal Badawi for presenting the Muslim community in the best way, and in fact, bringing to the community the balanced Islam with wisdom and with tireless work for all the states, presenting the Muslims everywhere. Dr. Jamal Badawi, thank you so much for what you're doing for us. So inshallah, the podium here. Muzammil.
Dear brother Dr. Jamal Badawi, may Allah give you long life, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the work that you have done. Lifetime Achievement Award. May Allah bless you.
Please sit down. Please. I feel more comfortable this way. I wouldn't take much time. I said it is a big surprise, a humbling surprise, and something that I believe a lot of people here and outside of this hall are much more deserving than myself. But I can only say three things. The first one, Jazakumullah khair. The second one, Jazakumullah khair. And the third one, Jazakumullah khair.
I want to thank our panelists today, Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui, Imam Jihad Safir, Dr. Hisham Abdullah, Brother Shakir Sayyid, Sister Ajrat Bada, Dr. Maryam Sada, Brother Hussam Ailouj, and Yasmin Azza. Jazakumullah khair, barakallah. Barakallah. Thank you for all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Jazakumullah khair.